Dark academia is everywhere right now, and most of the books being recommended are not dark academia. They are thrillers that happen to be set at a school. A tweed blazer and an old library is an aesthetic, and an aesthetic is not a genre. So here's the test I'm using. 3 parts, and a book has to pass all 3. 10 books scored against it one at a time, and then 3 famous ones that fail, including one that turns up on almost every dark academia list I've ever seen. And this matters more than it sounds, because the aesthetic is very easy to fake. You can put candles and Latin and a stone staircase on a cover, and sell it to somebody who wanted the secret history. What you cannot fake is the thing underneath it. 1. An elite, closed-off academic world. Somewhere you have to be let into and somewhere you can be thrown out of. And 2. An obsession with knowledge or beauty that the book itself treats as worth more than a human being. And 3. A moral transgression the characters reason their way toward, rather than one that simply happens to them, and then have to go on living inside afterwards. That 3rd one is where most of the imitations fall over. I will tell you how many of the 3 each book hits as we go. And the order is not a quality ranking. It runs from the books, sitting closest to the center of the genre, out toward its stranger edges. Further down does not mean worse. The Secret History, Donna Tartt, 1992. A small Greek class at a Vermont college, a professor who flatters them into believing they are exceptional, and a killing they reason their way toward rather than fall into. This is the book the entire genre is answering. It tells you who dies on page 1 and then spends 400 pages making you understand it, which is the trick everything since has been trying to repeat. 3 out of 3, and it is the origin text, so start here if you possibly can. The one honest warning is that it is slow, in the way a 1990s literary novel is slow. If that is going to lose you, I have an alternative in about a minute. If We Were Villains, Emil Rio 2017. 7 fourth-year Shakespeare students at an elite conservatory, cast in the same roles on stage and off. When one of them dies, the rest close ranks around it. It passes the test cleanly, and it passes it in an unusual way. The obsession here is with performance rather than with knowledge, and the transgression is not the death itself. It is a silence they all agree to keep afterwards. 3 out of 3. This is the alternative I promised. If The Secret History felt too slow, start here instead, because it does the same work with a great deal more momentum. It is the easiest book on this list to fall into. Babel, R.F. Kuang, 2022. Oxford in the 1830s, where translation is literally magic and the empire runs on it. It is the most ambitious book on this list by a comfortable margin. This is the one that turns the genre's own aesthetic back on itself and asks who exactly is paying for that beautiful library. Every other book here wants you to find the cloister seductive. This one wants you to find it expensive. 3 out of 3. My honest advice is not to read this one first. Read it once you already love dark academia and want it argued with, because a lot of its force comes from knowing the thing it is pushing against. Ninth House, Leigh Bardugo, 2019. Yale's secret societies, except that the occult they are playing at actually works, and somebody has to police what they do with it. It is the most plot-forward book here by a distance. Most dark academia moves slowly on purpose, and this one is built like a mystery, which makes it the best entry point for somebody who normally finds literary fiction hard-going. 3 out of 3. 2 things worth knowing before you start. It is the most violent book on this list. And it is adult, not young adult. A lot of people pick it up expecting Bardugo's earlier fantasy and get something very different. Catherine House, Elisabeth Thomas, 2020. A school that takes you for 3 years and asks you to give up everything outside of it. No contact, no going home, nothing. This is the purest version of the mood on the whole list. It is dreamlike rather than twisty, and the cloister is not a backdrop here. The cloister is the entire subject of the book. 3 out of 3. Read it if you want atmosphere over plot. Skip it if you need a story that resolves neatly, because this is the one on the list most likely to leave you holding questions on the last page. That is 5, and all 5 are at 3 out of 3, because those are the books sitting closest to the center of the genre. The next 5 are further out, stranger, more arguable, and in one case filed on a completely different shelf by most bookshops. Bunny Mona Awad, 2019. A graduate writing program, a clique who call each other Bunny, and a workshop ritual that gets thoroughly away from them. It is funny, and then it is not funny at all. And the hinge between those two things is the best thing in the book. It is easily the strangest title on this list, and the one that behaves least like the others. 3 out of 3. This is the most divisive recommendation I will make today in terms of taste, rather than quality. People either adore it or bounce straight off it, and there is very little middle ground. Go in knowing that. A Lesson in Vengeance, Victoria Leigh, 2021. A boarding school, an old witchcraft legend attached to it, and a narrator you very quickly learn you cannot fully trust. The unreliable narrator is not a garnish here, it is the whole machine, and that is what earns it the third part of the test. The transgression is being rationalized in front of you by somebody actively rationalizing it to herself. 3 out of 3. This is the young adult door into the genre, and I mean that as a recommendation rather than a warning. If the secret history felt like a wall, start here and come back to it later. Vicious V.E. Schwab, 2013. 2 brilliant roommates write a thesis on near-death experiences, and then they decide the only responsible thing to do is test it on themselves. Most bookshops file this under superheroes, and I think that is a straightforward misfiling. The engine is pure dark academia. Ambition, a transgression the characters rationalize in a seminar room, and then 10 years of consequences. 3 out of 3. This is the one on the list you are least likely to have considered, precisely because of where it gets shelved. If you want dark academia with genuine forward momentum, it is the best answer here. Never Let Me Go. Kazuo Ishiguro, 2005. An English boarding school, students raised with immaculate manners, and one enormous question that nobody in the building ever asks out loud. This one passes the third part of the test inverted, and that is exactly why it belongs here. The transgression is not committed by the students. It is committed on them. And the horror of the book is how gently everybody involved accepts it. 3 out of 3. It is the most restrained book on this list, and the one that stays with people longest. If you want the genre at its quietest and its most devastating, this is where it lives. The Maidens, Alex Michaelides, 2021. Cambridge, a charismatic professor of Greek tragedy, and a group of students who orbit him rather closely. I will be straight with you about this one. It is the most divisive book on the list, and a lot of readers actively dislike the ending. It is here because it passes the test, not because it is the best written thing on the shelf. 3 out of 3 and read it last. If you have worked through the other 9 and you want more of the setting specifically, it will give you that. If you are choosing your very first dark academia novel, do not make it this one. Now, the 3 you will see on almost every list that do not pass. And none of these is a bad book. I am not disqualifying them for quality. I am disqualifying them for fit, which is a completely different accusation. One of us is lying. A very good young adult thriller set at a high school. And that is the whole problem. There is no obsession with knowledge or beauty anywhere in it, and nobody transgresses for an idea. 1 out of 3, and the one it passes is only the setting. Ace of Spades has the same problem, and I want to be careful here, because it is genuinely a better book than the dark academia label gives it credit for. It is really about institutional racism, and reading it as aesthetic wallpaper does it a disservice. And the picture of Dorian Gray, which is the one that will annoy people. The aesthetics are exactly right, and the beauty worship is exactly right. But there is no academic institution anywhere in it. It is Gothic. That is a different shelf, and it is a good shelf. So where should you start? If you are coming in cold, The Secret History, so that everything else has something to argue with. If that is too slow, If We Were Villains. And if you already love the genre and want it challenged, go straight to Babel. If you want plot above all, Ninth House. If you want pure atmosphere, Catherine House. If you want the young adult weigh-in, A Lesson in Vengeance. If you want the quietest and saddest version of all of this, Never Let Me Go. All 10 in one breath. The Secret History. If We Were Villains, Babel. Ninth House, Catherine House. Bunny. A Lesson in Vengeance. Vicious. Never Let Me Go. And The Maidens. Every author and every year is written out in the description, so you do not have to scrub back through looking for a spelling. If this gave you a way to tell the real thing from the wallpaper, that was the whole job. There are free printable bookmarks at hookedtobooks.tv/bookmarks. Print them, cut them out, use them. And tell me which one I got wrong in the comments, especially The Maidens, because I already know. That is genuinely the argument I want underneath this video. Subscribe because we do one of these every single week.